Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night, Gane versus Tuivasa. I say this every week. I sound like that one guy in the press conference who tells Dana a great night of fights, but this was a great night of fights. It actually was. Good night of fights. I was hyped for a lot of them. I was screaming for some of them, but it's one of those, it reminds me of back in, I want to say maybe 2019 or 2018, I can't remember, but where there was a stretch of international cards where whether they ended in a decision or not, I think a lot of them did end in a decision. Those were really fun because they were just not in the States. And so a lot of international cards, it's not that they were fun, but they were just good to see that other places housed MMA. And I'm trying to find another word for exciting. It was just good to see. Let's put it like that. Anyways, let's get down to the fucking cards. We have one decision I wasn't happy with. One decision, we'll call it an injustice. Someone got robbed. They won't call it a robbery because maybe it just wasn't as exciting in the first few parts, but it doesn't matter. A robbery is a robbery. So we go to Makdessi versus Haqparast. And I think I just skipped it on my board. Hold on. Magdessi versus Haqparast. That's the first and only injustice on this card. I had it 29-28 for Magdessi. I gave him the first and the third round. 10-9 in the first and the third, obviously. And then we'll go through the descriptions. In that very first round, Magdessi had outstruck Haqparast barely. And it was mostly by leg kicks. Mostly leg kicks. Haqparast was kind of coming on towards the end. But if you watch that entire round, Magdessi outstrikes him. He's up on strikes in that round. And I'm surprised that while, yes, everyone was going, yes, it's a close round, it was obviously for Magdessi. This seems to be like a growing issue. Not a growing issue, but a common thing where the leg strikes just aren't appreciated or hold some level of importance, right? I understand in fights where both people are trading, judges tend to go, you know what, we won't value the leg kicks. I get that. But in the case of this, where Magdessi for the first, I want to say minute and a half, probably 2 minutes, is the only one landing and is mostly leg kicks, you have to put that in heavy significance. I don't want to compare it to round one O'Malley versus Munoz, where O'Malley gets outstruck by leg kicks, but we look at that and we go, look, he's the only one who threw. Boom. In that first minute 30 to 2 minute mark, Magdessi is the only one landing. And then Haqparast starts to come on, and then Magdessi starts to land hit strikes as well, just like Haqparast. But this is obviously Magdessi's round, and when I read the decision, I was obviously stunned a little bit, but we'll get to that in a second. Second round, it was close on the feed. It was kind of back and forth, but I'm reading the wrong marker. Excuse me. Wasn't back and forth. Second round, Haqparast outstruck and dropped Magdessi. There we go. That's the second one. That one goes to Haqparast. In the third one, this is 100%. I pray I don't look at this and see a 30-27. Haqparast had two takedowns. Now, hear me out. These two takedowns were in the end. I'm on round 3 right now. These two takedowns were at the very end. He did nothing with the takedowns. You can even hear Bisping, who I'm slowly becoming... I'm slowly etching towards not muting the commentary. That's stupid. You can't mute the commentary because you need the sounds of the fight. That actually does matter, and the sounds of the strikes. But I'm slowly leaning towards starting a petition to have Michael Bisping be taped during commentary. And by taped, I mean duct taped. But back to the point. He in this third round was correct when he said, hey, but he's got to do something with these takedowns. Now, here's my issue, though. It's not as though the strikes on the feet were close, because in my opinion, Haqparast was getting outstruck on the feet. He was absolutely outstruck on the feet. And while a lot of the shots were blocked, so were Haqparast shots as well. So, couple this in with Makdessi is outstriking him on the feet. And at the very end of the round, Haqparast decides, you know what, I'll just take him down and hold him. He gets 2 takedowns, does nothing with the takedowns. And that's the description of round 3. I'll read the scorecards now. Okay, you have Derek Clearly. He gave it a 30-27 for Haqparast. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Let's just be charitable and say you can give him round 1. Let's be charitable. Which I don't think is good, but still, we'll be charitable and give Haqparast round 1. He gives the third round, Derek Clearly, he gives the third round to Haqparast. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Mark Collette, he gives okay, I want to tell you this really quick before I even finish this. The way I write these down is I score these on my own, and then I just put like a little tally marker on each fight that has a different scorecard than mine. All right? I'm just, boom. And this isn't for me to sound pretentious. But here's the part. There are rounds that are clear and there are rounds that aren't clear. Let me just skip to this. Mark Collette, he gives the first round to Makdessi. So he saw what I saw, which is Makdessi was outstruck him enough to where he wins that round. He gives the second round to Haqparast, understandable. That's 2 and 3 are the clearest of the rounds. He gives the second round to Haqparast. He gives the third round to Haqparast. Guys, Haqparast was outstruck in that round. He was outstruck, and then he just had 2 takedowns at the end that did absolutely nothing. This wasn't one of those fights where it's close, it's back and forth on the feet. Here are the 2 takedowns that win you the round. No. He was getting outstruck that entire round. That's nonsense from Mark Collette. And then we go, Howard Hughes, his scorecard reflects Derek Clearly's, which is a 30-27. That's for Haqparast. That's disgusting. That's actually disgusting. This reminds me of like that South Korean chick that fought Priscilla Cachoeira, where she lost on all 3 scorecards. This is nonsense to me. This is nonsense. I was assuming that 10-9 from Collette was going to go in the third round. No, it goes in the first, which is correct on it in my opinion, but doesn't even mark it for the third round. Nonsense. Makdessi should have won this fight. We go to the honorable mentions. The scorecards that just are niggles in my head, really. We'll go to one that I was surprised to see when I looked this up. It's Santini versus Miranda. This fight ended in a TKO in the second round. By the way, quick thing. They called this one was a TKO, but in Gane versus Tuivasa, they called that a KO, even though that's. I guess it kind of felt TKO-ish to me. But anyways, whatever. That's regardless of the point. Santini versus Miranda. This fight ends in a TKO in the second round. The first round is a 10-9, 100% for Santini. In that very first round, Santini had a reversal and a takedown with ground and pound, and also dropped and slowly in the round outstruck Miranda. Obviously, before the drop and the takedown with ground and pound, it was a little slightly back and forth. They were kind of trading shots. Then Santini established himself and outstruck him in totality. And then mixed in that round, Miranda had two takedowns with a little bit of ground and pound. In that round, 2 takedowns with a little bit of ground and pound. I highlight that because when I was checking this, Mark Collette, Ahmed Korchi, and David Letheby all gave a 10-8. All gave a 10-8. This is madness. There's no 10-8. There should be no 10-8 here. And I know you're thinking, oh, he dropped him, and there was the ground. Okay. 10-8s are usually reserved for, and I know we'll keep screaming the 3Ds and blah, blah, we'll skip all that. Your opponent has to do virtually nothing. Miranda had 2 takedowns with ground and pound. We've seen a lot. Excuse me. We've seen a lot of fights where rounds where people did very little and weren't given a 10-8. Where the opponent, a good example could be Tybura versus a Romanov round 1. Tybura essentially did nothing. Tybura did nothing in that first round. And 2 judges decided, you know what, that's not a 10-8. You didn't do it. You didn't do enough to warrant a 10-8. In this round, I'm not saying it was back and forth on the feet up until later into the round. Miranda had 2 takedowns with ground and pound. There's no need for all 3 judges at 10-8. That's nonsense. Honorable mention to all 3. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Next honorable mention, Ziam versus Figlak. I had this 30-27. I put a close marker on the 3rd round. I think you can argue that for Figlak. 30-27 for Ziam. In that first round, Ziam had 2 takedowns and had struck Figlak. In the second, Ziam had some ground and pound for most of the round. He kind of ended up on top a lot and outstruck Figlak on the feet. They weren't takedowns. They were more or less. He just ended up in top position, really. And then in the 3rd round, which is close, so you can argue this for Figlak. Figlak had 2 takedowns. Ziak had a reversal. He also had a takedown as well. And the reason why I gave him this round is because he had better ground and pound. But just the way that round was going, you can maybe consider giving it to Figlak. It's just the better shots came from Ziam, which is why I gave him that round. We go to the judges' scorecards. And you have Christoph Kapus. He had a 30-27 for Ziam. Clemens Warner had a 30-27 for Ziam. And then Howard Hughes gave the first round. I'm sorry, he had a 29-28 for Ziam, but he gave the first round to Figlak. I was actually thinking he was going to give the last round to Figlak, but instead he gives the first round. So guess what? Honorable mention there to Howard Hughes. That makes no fucking sense at all in the world. Again, Ziam had 2 takedowns and outstruck Figlak. Where do you give Figlak that round? You don't give him 1 or 2 on any scorecard. Whatever. We move on. We go Jourdain versus Woods. I had this 29-28 for Wood. I thought the second round was close. I put a close marker there. I gave it to Jourdain, but you can argue in totality at 30-27 for Wood. First round. In the very first round, Wood had a takedown. It was close on the feet. It was kind of back and forth, but Wood had the better shots. Wood had the more cleaner shots. I think one thing that's noticeable is Jourdain was more active. It's just his shots weren't landing as clean and weren't better than Wood's shots. Hence why Wood wins the round in that first round. The second one's close. It's very close on the feet. They're both kind of landing. They're both landing. They're kind of clinched up. It's not a traditional. It's not the clinch where they're on the fence. They're more like in the center of the octagon, and they're clinching, and they're doing these like dirty boxing shots. Except when you watch it, Jourdain had the better shots. I believe that were landing more frequently to the body, to the chin, things like that, and both had 2 takedowns as well. So you kind of lean towards who had the cleaner shots, and that would be Jourdain. Hence why I gave him the round. Again, you could argue it because they spent a lot of their time just in that clinch position, but Jourdain had the cleaner, better shots. Hence why he got that round in my book. And then you go to the 3rd round, which is 100% Wood's round. Wood had 3 takedowns and outstruck Jourdain throughout that entire round. So there you have it. You go to the judges' scorecards. If I can find them, yes. You go to the judges' scorecards. Mark Collette had it 29-28. His scorecard reflects mine. Howard Hughes has a 30-27 for Woods. And Ahmed Korchi has a 30-27 for Wood as well. So there's that. Just wanted to highlight that. We go to the next one. A very unique fight, probably a weird fight. I know some people were saying online that it's that this fight was a very bad fight. Maybe, sure, it could have been. Depends how you look at it. I think they more attributed that to how Gomis was striking. Every time he threw like a kick in a really awkward angle, and his hand when he punched, he didn't punch straight. It's almost like his hand bent, like pretend you're putting your hand in a fist, and then you pull it down, and then just punch sideways. So like the back of your hand is actually punching as if it's the front of your hand. It's very awkward, really awkward fighting on that part. But fight I'm talking about is Gomis versus Errens. It was 30. I put it a 30-27. This fight ended in a majority decision. Weird scorecards, but 30-27. In that first round, in that very first round, close on the feet. It was actually really close on the feet. They were kind of just touching each other, and a lot of the shots were kind of missed, but they were touching each other with a little, close on the feet. But Gomis got a takedown towards the end with a little bit of ground and pound that kind of solidified the round for him there. Errens. Second round, Errens had some good shots on the feet. He had like a couple of shots on the feet, but that's when he kind of ended up on. He kind of went for a takedown, and then Gomis kind of reversed it and had a little bit of ground and pound throughout the round. There was a lot of those. There were a lot of Errens ends up on his back. Gomis goes into his guard and proceeds to land very little ground and pound, enough to where he wins the round, in my opinion. It felt like a. I'm not going to say what I think I say, but what I'm about to say, but that's another round for Gomis. And then you go to the third round. You go to the third round where Gomis struck him on the feet and had a takedown with a little bit of ground and pound. And then there's the part at the end where Errens has a submission attempt that's in and then go for a couple seconds, like maybe about 30 seconds or so. And, Gomis is able to get out there. Not enough in my book to win him the round. And that's why you get the 30-27 for me. You go to the judges' scorecards. And we'll start on the backside. So Clemens Werner, he has it a 29-28. He gave the first two rounds to Gomis and then gave the last one to Errens. I'm not in agreement on giving that third round to Errens. I'm just not, based off of him. I think he got outstruck on the feet, got taken down, and then went for the submission. Didn't get it. I don't think that's enough. I think if you simulate that round 3 times, I know this is stupid, but if you simulate that round 3, if you copy and paste that round 3 times, round 1, round 2, round 3, that everything that happened in 3 happens in 2 and 1, judges would score that differently. I promise you they would score that differently. But anyways, back to the point. Honorable mention there to Clemens Werner. I didn't want to, but I just disagree with how they score that round. I really do. His scorecard reflects David Lethaby, and then you had Christoph Capius, who I can't pronounce his name for some reason, gives the first to Gomis, then gives the second to Errens. I'm kind of confused by that a little bit. It's obviously Gomis' round, but he gives the second to Errens. So honorable mention already. And then the third round he makes it a tie. Now, I understand why he gives it a tie, but it's not a good reason in my opinion. If you're thinking that, okay, Gomis did all this stuff on the feet, and by all this stuff I mean very little, but he's winning on the feet, brings it to the ground, and then almost gets subbed with like 30 minutes to go, but then gets out, it's not enough in my opinion to then make this a draw. I'd rather him score this for Errens, just like the other 2 judges, but instead he puts a draw here. There's nothing in that round that tells you that was an even a round at all. So honorable mention there. That one kind of made no sense to me. All right, and then we go to Chirico versus Kopylov. This fight ended in a KO for Kopylov. But in the first 2 rounds, I gave a 10-9 to Kopylov in the first and the second. The second, I put a close marker by. It was very close. I think that second round is very close, but I gave the edge to Kopylov. in that first round, Kopylov outstruck Chirico. Simple. In the second round, it was close on the feet with the edge to Kopylov. I think he was just more active, hence why I gave him the round. He was just throwing more, even though I think they landed close to the same amount of strikes, but he was just throwing more and probably missing all those shots, or else he would have outstruck him. But still, that round goes to Kopylov. But again, it's close because the strikes are very close. Judges' scorecards. Ben Cartledge, he scores it the same way as me. Gave the first 2 to Kopylov. Same Clemens Werner. And then David Lethaby, he gives the first round to Kopylov. He gives the second round to Chirico. I'm not mad. I think it's a close round. Boom. Next, honorable mention, Imavov versus Buckley. I had this 29-28 for Imavov. Gave a 10-9 to Buckley in the third. If you read the description, which I will, Buckley was kind of outstriking Imavov for a little bit, right until Imavov took his back. Like, I think if that ended the way it did without it hitting the ground, 100. I think Buckley wins that round, and we might see a different scorecard, but it doesn't. So, Buckley's kind of outstriking him for a little bit. Mostly leg kicks and body shots and things like that. But then once Imavov takes his back, I didn't want to call it a takedown. He more like just grabbed him and then took his back. But anyways, takes his back and gets some ground and pound, enough ground and pound to steal that round, in my opinion. You go to the second round. It's close on the feet, but then Imavov gets a takedown with ground and pound for about 2+ minutes, just consistent ground and pound. And Imavov also had some submission attempts. That's 100% his round. And then the third round, in a round that Buckley could have finished him, maybe, and won. If it was maybe long, we're going to do that if it's a 5 round. If he had more time, if the shots landed perfectly, whatever. But anyways, Buckley outstruck Imavov, clear as day in that round. If anybody scored it different, when I heard the 29-28, not 29-20, I'm goofy. I think I heard a 30-20. We'll see. I'll read it in a second because I marked it, but I didn't read it. Third round, Buckley outstruck Imavov. His round, 100%, clear as day. I don't know what else you need here. Okay. Ben Cartledge. His scorecard reflects mine, 29-28 for Imavov. Mark Collette, 29-28 for Imavov, clear as day. Then we have Derek Clearly, the 30-27. He gives the last round to Imavov. What? You're not watching. At that point, you're just not watching. At that point, you're just not. Where do you get 30-27 from? You don't get 30-27 from anywhere. It's not 30-27. It's a 29-28. I'm honorable mention there to Derek Clearly. Just nonsense. All right, then we go to the co-main event, Whittaker versus Vettori. This was a 30-27. I know this. I will get to that. 30-27, 10-9 on all 3 rounds for Whittaker. The commentator was saying the first round was close. It was close in the sense that there were very few strikes thrown, but 100% Whittaker won that round. He outstruck him, body, legs, head. He was landing more shots. Very little strikes were thrown, I think, in the first and the second. Up until we get to the third, then a lot of strikes are landed. But first round, where am I at? Right, first round, Whittaker outstrikes Vettori. Very close on strikes again. So it's close, but it's not close. Like, it's close on strikes, but the fight that round isn't close, in my opinion. You go to the second round, Whittaker outstruck Vettori. That's as clear as day. And then the third round, he 100% outstruck Vettori. He then got a takedown as well with some shots on top, and then he kind of just got off and then continued outstriking him. We go to the judges' scorecards where Mark Collette had a 30-27, Howard Hughes had a 30-27, then Clemens Werner gives the first round to Vettori. A part of me doesn't want to give an honorable mention, but I can kind of see how he does that, but honorable mention. No, I don't think that round should have even been considered for Vettori. It's close on strikes, but it's enough to where that guy lost the round. Still clear enough. So there's that. And that's all I got. Other than that, If there were any standout fights, it's Gane V Tuivasa, Imavov versus Buckley. Shit, I mean, I don't know. Edgar versus Perez was kind of, TKO win or submission win. Santini versus Miranda, I like that. So yeah, good fights, and then Magomedov TKOing Stoltzfus. That's good stuff. Like always, thank you for listening, and God bless.